let's get to some NFL news and notes. One of Donnie's favorite all-time Philadelphia Eagles calls it a career yesterday afternoon. BG, Brandon Graham, retires after 15 seasons with the Eagles, a two-time Super Bowl champion. Here was BG yesterday addressing his retirement and his lifelong career in Philadelphia.
Y'all know I gave everything I had in this. And I don't have no regrets. That's one thing I tell them young boys. Don't have no regrets. And so, first I just want to say, 15 years ago, I walked into this city as a young man with dreams, big dreams, a little bit of nervousness, and a whole lot of fire in my heart. I had no idea back then what this journey would bring. I didn't know how many times I would be tested. I didn't know how much I would grow. And I surely didn't know how deeply I would fall in love with these fans and the team in this city.
It is a rare feat, DRS. BG was a first-round pick by the Birds out of Michigan way back in 2010. He spent all 15 years of his NFL career in one spot with this Eagles organization. Watching BG get emotional almost makes me get emotional. I can only imagine your emotions watching that press conference.
It brings me back to 1999, the Monday after my last football game I played. That looked like me up there on the stand, thanking the people, record-breaking career that I had and how long I got into this. Didn't have my wife yet, so I really couldn't thank any girlfriends or anything like that, but similar to me. So when I hear these speeches all the time, I go back to my own intricacies of me growing up and playing sports. Sound a lot like me. Huge accomplishments, didn't end in a championship, but you know what? Those fans out there, they got everything I had, man, and they still can remember me on that. How about that?
I mean, listen, I expected you to make that about yourself. I expected you to internalize. I thought it was just going to be your love for Brandon Graham as a lifelong Eagles fan and what he has meant to your favorite team. Nobody does it like DRS. Anything else on BG before we go through the rest of the NFL headlines?
Says he wants to stick around the Eagles because, that love for football certainly still burns bright at this point. And one of the funniest things about the press conference was they asked him a question right off the bat, like, are you going to miss the trash talk? And he goes, look, I'm not out there anymore, but when I show up to practice, I'll still tell the offensive line what I would have done to them on that play. So, he's going to be running that mouth left and right with that big smile here. So, congratulations, BG, two-time Super Bowl champion. Again, 15 years in the NFL, not a kicker, a snapper, or a quarterback. That is incredible, man. It really is.
Fought his way back from a torn triceps, torn biceps to be there with the Eagles during Super Bowl 59. All right, DRS. Other news around the NFL. What is Aaron Rodgers going to do? The Vikings saying this morning they are not pursuing Aaron Rodgers. They have fielded some trade calls for J.J. McCarthy. They are not interested. McCarthy is the future in Minneapolis. So that would seem likely two spots then for Aaron Rodgers. Either Pittsburgh or the New York Giants. Well, here's one of the Steelers' leaders along that defensive line for a very long time in Cameron Heyward on his Not Just Sports podcast yesterday. Quote, I ain't doing that darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. It's that simple. That's the pitch. The end of the quote. Doesn't seem as though Heyward is all that interested in having the drama that seems to follow Aaron Rodgers.
Or anybody else, because nobody wants to be a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback at this point right now, and that's pretty much on point. So I don't know what he's yelling and screaming about, but understand this too. It's hard for the Steelers to understand, he, talking about Aaron Rodgers, was waiting on Minnesota and probably would have waited weeks and weeks and weeks, which means okay, he's not going there. And the Steelers I hope he comes here. And it's like, does he really even want to be on your football team? So I understand where Cam Heyward's coming from, but it's not as if we had a chance to get 6 quarterbacks, and we waited on Aaron Rodgers, and look how it turned. No, nobody wanted. Justin Fields was begging, they were begging him to come back. He's like, man, I'm going to the Jets. This place stinks in here. So be careful what you wish for at this point. But also, where Aaron Rodgers really didn't want to go there, how excited he is to actually go there now? That's the interesting point.
He's still holding everybody up. Just sign if you like football. Jalen Milroe having dinner last night with the Steelers' top brass. Pittsburgh drafts 21st overall in the opening round. Would the former Alabama QB be in consideration? I don't think that would be very wise. Matt Milano restructuring his contract to stay in Buffalo. A very optimistic offseason for the Bills in Western New York.